Hi, I'm Chris Smith, CTO of Retro Games Limited. We brought you the C64 Mini, the full size, the VIC-20, and the Amiga A500. And you're watching me on SteamWorld.
It's the SteamWorld podcast. I'm me, he's him, we're us. This is this.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Where are we going today?
We are going to be talking to Sebastian Hesse from Critical Rabbit. He developed the adventure game, The Fall of Porcupine, and Sebastian is the writer. He shares some interesting insights with us, that is Dennis and me, about the making of the game and his approach to writing and game design.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, the game is available on Steam and will be available on future systems as well. Well, future means further systems, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But if we cover the future, perhaps the Switch 2, we will see. Yeah. Before, though, we have some news. And the first bit of news would be that as of January 2024, Steam no longer supports Windows 7, 8, and 8.1 because it's relying on the Chrome browser engine. And Chrome stopped supporting those operating systems, so does Steam.
Yeah. And as I said before, I still feel like Windows 10 is fairly new. But
it's not. It's actually from 2015. So
yeah.
When it's going to be retired next year, it's 10 years.
It's been a while.
The only operating system that actually was prolonged because of a lot of protest was actually Windows XP.
Good old XP.
Yeah, that went from 2001 to 2014.
Pretty sure that some people are still using XP.
They must have a pretty bad experience then. Yeah.
Well, if you're still using XP, I'm sure you're figuring out workarounds for how to make it work.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, if you're listening to this podcast right now, and it's not yet past February 3rd, then you could get it for €9 left. Less on the Steam store because they are actually running a promotion until February 3rd. So hurry up, get it cheaper. €10 cheaper, €10 off, worth it.
And how much is that in dog ears?
In dog ears?
Yeah, like how much is $10, $9 off? Like what's the price?
That's actually a good point. I mean, obviously it depends on the region.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, my prices are German. I don't know what it is in America. But
what's it called again?
That's The Fall of Porcupine. Let's see. €9.99. So €10 off means originally $19.99.
Yeah. That's available for Windows.
Yes. True.
Okay.
And it's a story-driven game because it says, is this game relevant to you? And it says, similar to games you've played, Detroit, Become Human, and Heavy Rain.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Other news I've got is that Final Fight Enhanced had been released for the Amiga. And that means better animations, music in the background while playing the game, and a female player as a character can be chosen.
Yes. And this is for OCS or ECS. I'm sorry. This is for ECS machines. So you need a cycle correct 68,000 7 megahertz processor 2 megs of chip RAM, and an ECS chipset.
Which is interesting because in the comments there are actually people complaining that it doesn't match the requirements of the original version, and
Right.
if it's better, it should use the same hardware requirements.
But and again, for something like a C64 or Atari or an NES or whatever, where what the here's the machine, these are what the requirements are. That makes that's fine to think that way. There's some people that are unhappy that that like Sam's Journey needed an RU.
On the NTSC version, yeah.
Right. And I mean, a lot of people have RUs obviously because it sold well. But there are some people that
actually.
There are some people that don't. Well, I think only the NTSC version needed an RU, right?
Right.
Yeah,
because it's using the CPU in the ROI as a coprocessor.
Right. Yeah.
For additional calculations and not the RAM itself.
Right.
But which is interesting because in the comments actually people were saying, man, it's 2024, you should at least have 2 Macs installed in your Amiga nowadays.
Right. And the Amiga, the Amiga is one of those machines that's closer to a PC or a Mac in that it wasn't designed to be like, here's the hardware, this is what you're locked into, From the original Amiga 1000, there were RAM upgrades, there were processor upgrades, there was all this stuff that you could put in there. And, you're not limited to just that 68,000 and that onboard 1 meg or 512 K or whatever it came with. So I mean, my 500's got got 9 megs of memory, not 9 megs of RAM. It's got a 68020 in it, which I can revert to a 68,000 if I want to, and I replaced the chips in it, the OCS chips with ECS chips from I guess they're from an A2000 or something. So because I wanted it to be able to do stuff. And with the ECS, you can still go back and play the OCS games. It doesn't hinder it. It just gives you a little bit extra.
Backwards compatible.
Right. So that's what this game requires, and I think that's reasonable. There is not an AGA version, which, okay, that's fine with me. I don't have an AGA Amiga, so. But yeah, so it's there. It's cool. I'm actually going to download it right now.
If you don't have an AGA Amiga, then you can't play games like Simon Sorcerer 2. That's actually AGA stuff.
Or Reshoot.
Ooh, how bad?
I mean, I've got an emulator, so I can.
Yeah, but emulator. Oh.
I mean, it works for playing some games. I would love to have. If somebody wants to send me an Amiga 1200, I'll take it. I don't know.
Can't you get it from eBay in America?
So finding an NTSC Amiga 1200 is like finding a live unicorn in Times Square. Like it just doesn't happen. And the ones that you can find are like $2,000.
Ooh.
They are ridiculously priced because they're uncommon, and they're probably like they're the machines everyone wants. Everyone wants an Amiga 4000 or an Amiga 1200. And a lot of them, the caps went bad on those. They had the Amiga 500 is like the C64 or the 128. Like the caps will last forever. But the 1200 and the 4000 had those, and the 600 had those caps that did not last very long. So you got to find one that's either recapped or that you're willing to recap, and then find one that's not dead yet already. And it's just it's just so much work to do that.
There are so many new variants of the C64 and recreations and stuff.
I know.
Nobody did recreations of those Amigas.
Somebody did recreate. There are a few, I believe, of the A500. The Amiga 500. There's a couple of boards out there. But not those you need. I think there is one for the 1200. Yes, but again, you've got to put all the stuff in there. You've got to solder the chips in and all the the capacitors and all that stuff.
But don't have they SIF sockets like the other?
Yes.
DIC64. Yeah, well, then they
Yeah.
didn't need to solder that, right?
Well-
SIF sockets is just like open.
No, I mean
open the
like
socket.
the caps and stuff. You still have to put them in.
Really?
Yeah.
It's not pre-assembled.
I haven't seen one that was pre-assembled.
Oh.
I've seen just the boards.
Okay, I see. Anyway, on the positive side, we have our review by Devon from Turbo Overkill.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and we interviewed Apogee beforehand in the podcast a few years ago, speaking about it. So now we have the review about it.
Yes, indeed.
Check it out.
Yeah,
Check it
it's
out.
good. It's
Yeah.
good stuff.
Definitely. And also, we mentioned Final Fight Enhanced. I also found a version from Final Fight Arcade with the Sega CD soundtrack. Sega CD was the attachment for the Sega Mega Drive / Genesis with the CD-ROM attachment. Yeah.
But the poor Dreamcast never got a CD.
Right.
Oh, wait, no, it didn't get DVD. DVD, I think it didn't get.
DVD,
Maybe it had a CD. I don't know. I never had.
What had a DVD?
No, Dreamcast didn't get a DVD. Did it have a CD?
Sure.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna say I didn't have a Dreamcast, so I don't know. I know that there's a lot of talk lately, especially of it never getting the DVD.
There was the Mega Drive with Sega CD attachment. Then there was the Sega Saturn.
Right. Yeah.
And after that was the Sega Dreamcast, and that was the competition of the PlayStation. And the PlayStation was also CD driven, not DVD driven. The DVD version was actually the PlayStation 2.
Yes.
That had a DVD playing functionality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's mostly what I used mine for, was playing DVDs.
Right.
I had one game.
Yeah. Well, and you don't need a game console, but anyway.
Well, I mean, I got it to use as a game console. I didn't play it. My ex-girlfriend played it a lot.
Ooh.
Really into Kingdom Hearts and stuff like that.
Right.
I had NHL 2004. I still have it somewhere. That's all I ever played.
Yeah. Actually, it's actually pretty good. Yeah, well, and you also had news.
Yes, I had news, which this came from Amiga Future, that Visalia Online, which is a German Amiga store, is retiring and shutting it down. They talked to Guido Does. Is that how you pronounce his name?
Guido Does.
Okay. And so they are retiring. They've closed the online shop. If you go to the website, which is visalia.de, that'll take you straight to an eBay page. And what they're going to be doing is moving the business over to eBay. And as the stock dries up, they'll eventually close the doors. So,
right.
That's a shame. One of the big Amiga shops that are still around is going to be gone, but there are a few left, like AmigaStore.eu and Amiga by the Lake and whatnot, are still around.
And actually, that's a lie, because it's not Versalia.de.
It's not. That's what I typed in.
No. It's
no. Type Versalia.de. It takes you straight to eBay.
No.
Yeah, I just did it.
When I go to wait. Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's not Versalia. It's Vesalia.
Yeah, Versalia. That's what I said.
Right. Without an R. Then it's
there's no R.
Right. Well, the story behind it is on the Amiga. That's actually the name of the event that's happening each year, not each year, each couple of years in Germany, where people like former employees and of Commodore and retro fans, Amiga fans meet.
Mhm.
Some years back, he actually, Guido Dös was actually getting a Lifetime Achievement Award for running this Visalia store.
Mhm.
And the story behind it is that a few years earlier, his wife actually died that used to do this with him together. So I guess he's probably stopping do it to his progressed age. I mean, at some point, it's like retiring. Just like earlier, Ray Carlson did, retired from repairing Commodores and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because the scene is, getting older. The people that have done this, it's a 40-year-old computer and a, the Amiga as well is, mostly 80s, early 90s. It's a lot of
85, yeah.
Yeah, right. So there's a lot of people that are, a lot of people in the scene are getting significantly older, with the exception of us.
That is why you have this gray hair and beards.
As I was saying, that's paint. That's paint. I was working on ceiling.
Right.
I was this isn't stubble. This is cinnamon. I was eating a bun before.
Right.
It's a terrible eating hygiene.
Wonderful.
I'm like Cookie Monster. It goes everywhere except for my face.
Yeah, well, I mean the smartness that, because it's a puppet and it can't it can't actually digest food and stuff, and swallow
Did you see
food
the video where
to make it actually make the cookies coming out again? It's actually pretty smart.
I mean, it's kind of a horror story. Like, he's constantly hungry for cookies, but he can never eat.
I know.
Did you see there's a video somewhere? I think he might have been with John Oliver or somebody where Cookie Monster is there, and he has like somebody mentions that he doesn't actually eat the cookies, and he has like this existential crisis where like Cookie Monster realizes, and at one point he looks down and he realizes that there's somebody below him, like working, being the puppet guy. It's really weird.
Okay, we'll have to look that up.
If
I find it, I will.
To that.
If I can find it, I will put a link to that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Cookie Monster's existential crisis.
It's actually a pretty smart move. Yeah.
Yeah. Muppets are great. I love Muppets.
Actually, interestingly, as a kid, I've never been very fond of the Muppet Show, but I loved the Sesame Street.
Well, yeah. So Sesame Street was, it was for kids. The Muppet Show was arguably not for children.
Well, in Germany, the Muppet Show was sold for kids in Germany.
Yeah,
tell you that.
In the U.S., I believe it was mostly marketed towards adults.
Not in Germany, and I didn't really find it funny as a child, with a few exceptions.
Yeah.
Like those one or two travel stories.
Right.
Yeah. An interesting thing, that's something most people don't know, Sesame Street's actually an American-German co-production.
Yeah.
And in the 70s, the Sesame Street had a lot of stories from the slums in America with colored kids.
Yes.
And actually, when they aired the same episodes in Germany, they actually moved those parts.
Really?
Yes, and because parents were concerned, because it would reflect a way of culture that we don't have in Germany.
Huh.
And then, interestingly, when they did actually follow the call of the parents, then they received letters from the children complaining. So they had to reinstate, and then decided, okay, we are undoing our change, and actually decided, okay, we are going to synchronize dubbing those episodes completely into German without removing those scenes with the slum parts of colored kids of America.
Well, I wouldn't call them slums. It was just inner city, it was supposed to be, I believe, New York.
Yeah, but it was
You know?
it was not it was more like Bronx area and stuff, not
Yeah.
the very rich
Right.
neighborhood.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. Right.
yeah. Anyway, that's actually what it was. And interestingly,
Where the real people live.
just telling you what happened
Yeah.
in Germany,
Uh-huh.
what happened in Germany about that.
Yeah.
And also interestingly, Sesame Street is one of those few shows around that is actually available around the world. In some areas, only in subscription cable TV channels. So only if you sign up for it and stuff.
Right. Right.
But it's still, to my knowledge, one of the few shows that is actually available around the world. So Egypt, China, and all those other regions like, I don't know, like Mexico, Venezuela, and so on, Brazil, where you actually wouldn't think the culture would allow it. And interestingly, there is an article on Wikipedia where it actually has a list of all characters that were created just for specific countries.
Oh, really?
Yes. So it's totally wild. So you have characters that are actually coined on those special areas in Southeast, in the Arabic world, in Asia, in Latin America, and so on and so forth.
Afghanistan, Bangladesh.
Yeah, it's all around the world. Yeah.
Canadian Sesame Street's got people that we don't have. What? Really?
Yeah, you see. Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, told you.
Samson, a male bear. You get a male bear. What? Samson, a male bear, similar in role and full body puppet to Big Bird. Really?
Yeah, I told you so.
Dang.
Yeah.
Uli von Bodfeld, an androgynous hedgehog-like creature. What? Why didn't we get these?
I told you so.
Rumpel,
So anyway,
a green grouch that lives in a rain barrel. You got more than one grouch? The hell?
Yeah. Told you so. There's a whole new world to discover.
That's crazy.
So anyway, the essence is Sesame Street is originally a German-American co-production, but it has characters and parts of the show coined to certain countries and cultures.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's one of those few shows that is known among the most kids in the world, I guess.
Yeah. Wow. My mind is blown. I've never known this. I used to watch this stuff as a kid, and you really thought Sesame Street was only in Germany and USA? No, I thought it was most places, but I didn't know that they made specific characters for other places. I just figured, what's on Sesame Street's on Sesame Street.
And I mean, some characters make more sense in English than it makes in German. For example, I never understood why the Count loves to count. It makes more sense in English.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It makes more sense in English. Like, but when I first saw the Sesame Street in English, I was like, I'm the Count, and I love to count. I'm like, yeah, now it makes sense.
Yeah.
Now it's making sense. Right.
All right.
Alrighty.
Well then.
Good. So now let's jump to Sebastian and talk about the Fall of Porcupine.
Yes. Jump.
And learn all about it. Did that synchronize? I don't know. But at least we tried. Okay, well, talk to you then. Jump. Yeah. Today we have another guest, and today it's Sebastian Hesse. You are known to be a game designer and also creative producer at Buntspecht, it says on your LinkedIn page. But we noticed when you communicated with us, you actually mentioned in the footer the other company, Critical Rabbit. So
Yes.
perhaps we can talk about why the intertwining of the two companies.
It's a bit complicated because we started with a company called Buntspecht in Cologne, Germany. It started as a film production. Me, for myself, I started as a director for film too. So all of us have their origin in film production or in creative filmmaking or whatever. Then we started to make games in interactive media. And at one point, and this point is the production of Fall of Porcupine, our first commercial game, we decided to split the company in two. So we have the film production and the interactive media / game production. So maybe not all of my social media and contact forms are pretty updated, but that's the actual thing that I'm working at Critical Rabbit as the managing director and writer / game designer.
Awesome.
Nice. So how did you come to make games from movies? What was the thought about it, behind it?
I ended up the last years of filmmaking in commercials. So I did a lot of TV commercials, image, corporate movies, whatever. And as a director, I felt pretty bored at one point because I was on the way to a set with my half of a page of a script, and I was thinking to myself, okay, I want to work with actors again. I want to tell stories again. So I was thinking, maybe I should cut at this point, go back to indie cinema, to feature film, for whatever. Even when the payment is not good, I have the chance to work with people, work with characters, work with text and dialogue. But I was always in my life interested in the media of video games. I was always a gamer in my life. And I was pretty interested in the theory of storytelling in video games because we know nothing about it. We're pretty at the beginning of everything. To make a comprehension in time, you can think about that we are making games for 30 years, for 40 years. And in this time, in this period, we started to make film with audio. So we are actually, when you do the comprehension, at the point where we introduce audio in film. So we at the pretty beginning, there's much to learn. Nobody knows how it's working. And this was my motivation. And that's my fun, actually. I love it. And I still know nothing. But I'm looking forward to the research and learn more about it.
Interesting that you mention it because, I mean, in the recent years, actually, as I mentioned, movie making, the way how cutscenes in video games are made actually changed. I mean, in the 90s, we had games like Wing Commander and Command & Conquer who used real actors. And nowadays, games are actually using animated actors and not really movie actors anymore. Isn't that kind of a step backward? Because you said we are in the beginning of video games in comparison to movies?
Not really. The work as the narrative game director is pretty the same as a director for film. You are telling a story, you have your characters, you have your scenes, you have your drama and whatever. The interesting point is that you could say, at example, The Last of Us is a good video in terms of storytelling, but you also can say it's not, because everything the game does is stealing tools from film to tell their story. You have a cutscene, which you could use as, which could work as a film too. Then you have your shooting range, you have your stealth range, and then the player have to give away the controller again to watch the scene to tell the story. And the interesting point of it is that a game for me is more like a performance kind of interaction thing. Like you always have to think about who's playing, because the person has to interact with your media and you cannot tell them what to do. You're not there. So you always have to think about how can I integrate a real human who has no idea what is going on, entering the stage and be part of the thing you want to tell.
Nice. So you mentioned you've been a gamer ever since. With which games did you grow up? Did you more grown up with consoles or computer gaming, or let us know?
Both. From my father's side, I had a 286 DOS computer with discs and stuff like that, with no idea what I'm doing. And after a while, I think I was maybe 5 or 6, I got my uncle's Super Nintendo for Christmas. And this was like my official start in the world of gamers. So I grew up with, of course, Super Mario World, A Link to the Past, without being able to read. So figuring out how it's working, but it was always fascinating for me.
Nice. Okay, so when you started to put together the story for Fall of Porcupine, did you had any games that influenced you from the adventure side, like any other point-and-click adventures? Like there are many classics like Day of Tentacle and all the LucasArts adventures. Did you had some adventures in mind?
I can say that Monkey Island is one of my favorite series, and I think you cannot see it directly, but here is an actual concept art for a pirate game. I will be make it in the future or not, we will see. But
Nice.
Okay,
Nice.
spoiler alert.
One thing on my bucket list is making a pirate game.
Very nice. Cool.
And I think the way Dave Grossman and Ron Gilbert writing the dialogues, interacting with the characters in the game, impacted the way I writing.
Mm-hmm.
At least you can read it when you know it.
Nice.
Yeah, well, that's another story. That's another interesting story. I mean, we had Ron Gilbert in the podcast when he said he would never do another Monkey Island game, and then suddenly a few years later he did it. So, you know.
And I met him like this year on the DEFCON conference in Cologne. And maybe you know these friends book you had as a child, where you can give it to your friends and they say, yes, that's my hobbies and stuff. And I managed that Ron Gilbert and Dave Grossman wrote in my friends book, and I'm pretty proud about it.
Awesome. Yeah, you mentioned 286 computers. That must be around 1991, 92, because you also mentioned the Super Nintendo that was around the time.
Yeah, that's the time. Like the 286 crossed a bit with the Commodore of my uncle, but everything I know, everything I remember are the games without knowing the names. Maybe you have the same when you're retro gamers. And the situation of sitting on his lap and just pointing the fire button. But pretty good memories for me.
Okay. So let's move forward a few years and let's talk about Fall of Porcupine. How did you come up with such an idea, with such a setting? I mean, it's a pretty unique setting for an adventure game. And just let us know how the process of developing such a story was.
Maybe we should start with talking about what the game is about, or should we?
Yeah, of course.
Definitely. Yeah, sure.
So basically, Fall of Porcupine is the story about Finlay. He's a young doctor who just started his first job in a hospital, in a pretty old hospital, in a small town in the middle of nowhere. And we experience his first weeks and months in a system which is pretty broken, the healthcare system. I think all of us have enough connection to have an idea what the problems could be. And it's mainly about the persons who are actually working and sharing their own life in this kind of job. So it's kind of a slice of life story, focusing on job, especially on healthcare. And I was thinking about the story because I was always interested in healthcare themed movies and series like Grey's Anatomy, Scrubs, these kind of things. And I knew that the setting is interesting, the setting is worth to tell. And you have a good base to work as a writer, because at the one hand, you have the team, the people who are actually working in the hospital, characters you get to know better and better in the progress. And with each patient who needs to join the hospital, you can just push in a little arc to tell anything you want. It could be a long thing, it could be shopping, it could be connected to the main story, or just something as a side quest you can tell. So I thought it was a good base to work with. And at the same time, I have a lot of friends who are working in healthcare. And when you're talking to people who are working there and just asking, tell me about your journey, tell me about your 3 patients you have in mind, the good and the baddest situation you have, what's coming up, and you will pretty fast recognize that they have actually pretty interesting things to say, things that all of us can relate to, but it's still far away enough to be interested.
Cool. So it's like you mentioned, a slice of life story. And but one special thing about the game is the characters are all like animals. And how did you come up with this? Why?
I can't say how. I know that the very first working title was just Animal Hospital.
Okay.
Before I had the actual story and everything, it was clear that we want to use animal-like characters in the game. And I think it's a good way to, it's a tool for creating sympathy to the gamers. It's an actually pretty hard topic, and it's a serious topic, and maybe it's better to tell it in a not that serious way to create empathy in the gamer's perspective, and they don't have the feeling that they have such a hard content to enjoy, but it's still fun, and you can play with the characters not only in hospital but everywhere. When you use animal characters, you can play with the cliches, or you can decide not to work with the cliches to making surprises and whatever. And of course, you can avoid visual content you maybe don't want to show. An example, you have like a serious injury, somebody is coming to the hospital. You can translate the situation to an animal and say, okay, you have not a broken arm, you have a broken horn and whatever. And so the rate of visual violence is less. So maybe people are more comfortable to view. Because I also experienced that a lot of people have problems with hospital topics and seeing kind of stuff. So we just wanted to find a way to make it more comfortable for everyone. And at the end, it's fun. It's just fun to work with it.
Absolutely, totally.
Taking blood
Very
samples,
unique.
for example, many patients would faint because of that and stuff. Yeah, I mean, you seem to have a thing for animals because your companies are called Buntspecht and Critical Rabbit. So I see a connection there.
Yeah,
nice.
Like characters, it's not telling in the game itself, but Finlay is a pigeon, and we decided to make him a pigeon because pigeons are awesome, but also because the cliche of a pigeon is that they are dirty and stupid. So we put it in a role which is like the opposite. And at the same time, you have these thing in society all over the world that people in healthcare are more searched in areas outside of big cities. So Finlay, and that's headcanon, moved from a big city to Porcupine to get a job. And pigeons are living in big cities. So you have a connection to his origin, more or less.
Very cool. Very cool. So, how big was the team? How many people worked on the game?
It's a hard question because it varies in the time of production. We worked for the game around 2 years. And meanwhile, I think the base team were around 5 people.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, like in the hot periods of production, you raise the number, or you have people like sound design who just working for a small period of the whole production, not for the whole 2 years, or music or whatever.
Okay. So it was a kind of the team increased and decreased over the time, like or was it just bigger and bigger, or?
I think you could say it ping-ponged between 5 and 15.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. So now the game is released. Do you have any plans for further platforms to port it?
I think except mobile, we have everything relevant, more or less.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard to port for a Commodore these days.
True. Yeah,
Everything which was possible for us, we did.
Okay, nice. So you just gave us a hint that you are working on a pirate game. So I don't know. Can you probably tell us more?
No.
No.
Okay, NDA.
It's not about an NDA. This is just a concept art, but this is not my actually next project. Of course, we were thinking about making a prequel or a sequel to Fall of Porcupine.
Okay,
but
nice.
To just let it there for a year, maybe for 2, focus on another thing, and then asking the gamers, the community, would you like to have another game in kind of Fall of Porcupine? When they say yes, I'm in. If not, I'm not. And meanwhile, we are about making a prototype for another game, which is pretty different. I will not tell something detailed, but I can say that it's about turtles.
Okay, nice.
Cool.
Not Ninja Turtles. I'm sorry for that.
Yeah, but
Still
no
cool.
problem.
So animals again, of course.
Yeah.
One thing that I wanted to ask about, on Steam, actually, Ensemble Entertainment, your publisher, is also listed as franchise owner of the game.
Oh, there you have to ask my producer how this contract things are going on.
Okay, so it's a contract thing. Okay.
I think so, but I think they're more like the owner of the rights of the actual game, but I don't know.
Okay, well, it's just something I noticed. I mean, at the beginning when we planned for the interview, it's very untypical that you have like 3 companies involved with people working for various companies at the same time. So it's pretty complex. But as you explained in the beginning, that is because it's basically the same company split in 2.
Yeah, it was also hard to communicate for the others because we started with making a prologue. I don't know if you played that. So before we made the actual game, we made a prototype, of course. And then we decided, okay, we don't want to make a prototype for a story game, which is part of the actual story. Let's make a prologue, which takes place a few days before the main story. It's called Fall of Porcupine, Last Days of Summer.
I saw that, yeah.
Around about 2 hours, 1.5 hours of gameplay. And as I said, it takes place before the actual main story. It's for free, so you can play, you can try out. And it was hard for us to communicate because when you start the prologue, you still see the logo of Buntspecht and not of Critical Rabbit, because meanwhile, we did this company thing. So you're not the only one who is confused in this.
Okay.
I mean, perhaps let's talk about how Dennis actually found out about you. I think it was an event in Hamburg, and Dennis sent me pictures of the booth you had. It was pretty amazing. Perhaps we can talk about that a bit.
Yeah, I discovered you actually at the Polaris event in Hamburg. which you had a pretty nice booth with some guys in costumes. And is it important for you to be on fair trades and making interesting booths and be present? What is your opinion about? I mean, stuff like E3 doesn't exist anymore, but Gamescom is still strong. And what is your opinion on this?
I love to go there.
Yeah.
Especially Gamescom is like a home game for us. Like it's 10 minutes with my bicycle to the location. So of course we are there, and of course we are there from the beginning to the end each year. And it's really exhausting, but it's a big party for everyone, and it's just enjoying games, and I like that a lot. It refuels my battery making games, because I see the people talking about the games and enjoy the games, coming in costumes, crying by the trailers and stuff like that. So it's a pretty emotional thing for me. And with a good luck, we have the producer Flo in our team, who is super interested and also like skilled in building these kind of booths. He has like pretty nice ideas in marketing, and yeah, I trust him in these things, and he did a really good job in Fall of Porcupine. And of course, we also think about what could we do with the next.
Seems to work. Seems to work. Otherwise, we wouldn't have this interview now.
Yeah.
Because Dennis was like, we have to invite them. They are awesome. This is so incredible. You know.
Yeah, it was really an eye catcher on the Polaris event. I mean, probably one of the best booths there. Like very, like really sucking you into the game. And I really felt that I had to check out the game. And yeah, very cool. Nice work. Nice.
Which actually proves it's not about the size of the company, but the ideas and the concept, basically, you know.
Yeah, definitely. There are so many booths also at Gamescom from AAA companies, which are just yes, boring, and but some nice ideas like yours are really an eye catcher, and I mean it really benefits to a game to have such an eye catcher on a fair trade like Gamescom. It's amazing, and good work.
Thank you. I don't want to go too deep into marketing things, but what I learned is that like when you're entering this industry and you get to know publishers and marketing companies, you ask, give me the formula of successful games and successful marketing. But at the end, there is no formula. It's just you have to have some luck. You have to have some good ideas, and of course a community who is matching all these kind of things. And this I can say for sure, that the community which built it up around Fall of Porcupine is the best I can have. Like, I love it. People are super neat and super helpful with fixing and reporting bugs, and it's super nice to getting all these messages and fan arts, and yeah, I love it.
Cool. Yeah, it's really interesting to have a really new adventure idea, not only sequels or not only revived franchises from like Monkey Island is also the new part of Monkey Island. I don't know if you played it. Personally, of course, it's an amazing production, but it doesn't feel so fresh. It's just a kind of reboot. But having some brand new ideas like Fall of Porcupine is just something different in the adventure sector, and this is very cool. And fresh ideas are quite. They're not so happening so often nowadays, and so it's really good to see games like Fall of Porcupine coming out, especially speaking of adventures. All right.
I mean, it depends. I mean, there have been some examples in the recent years, like No Man's Sky, which actually was at the beginning a commercial failure, but totally new concept, totally new graphic style. And as Sebastian mentioned at the beginning, David Crossman, his latest graphic style for Monkey Island wasn't so much liked by some players. So I don't know. It's always a thing. You never can make everybody happy. Doesn't matter what you do. I mean, even the latest Need for Speed Unbound with the manga and graffiti style, some younger generation players, 20 plus, they loved it, and the older generations, 40 plus, like me, who grew up with Need for Speed, hated it. But personally, I didn't mind. So it's always a problem, I think, if you are too much adventurous with a new concept or new graphic style. I don't know how you see it, but that's how I see it.
You just have to be aware that, as you said, you cannot make anybody happy. You will never make the perfect game everybody love. Or also, like, I don't know, Baldur's Gate. There are people who will hate Baldur's Gate. It's objectively, of course, a good game, but not everybody like it. So when somebody come to you and say, I hate your game, I hate your characters, it's nothing personal, and it doesn't say that your game is bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are some companies who are doing like extensive market research to make the perfect game, like investing tremendous amounts of money in studies and market research and stuff like this. But I think the best way is just to have a unique idea and just do a thing, and don't mind if people will like it or not. And but of course, a lot of publishers won't take the risk. I don't know, what was your publisher like? What did you have any discussions about the content, or did they give you free artistic freedom, or what was the work like?
I had pretty much free hands.
Yeah.
Story. I think they actually didn't change anything. So, but the thing was that we actually had the prototype, the prologue episode. So they had an idea how the game will be, and they have their target groups, and they can say, okay, this target group is matching to these kind of games. So I was happy that nobody from the outside came to watch my fingers and watch my words and say, you have to change that because the industry wants that. Of course, there were things we discussed about, but they are obligate.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. Yeah, to have artistic freedom is, I think, very important for story-driven games. I think it could be very frustrating if some publisher comes along and says like, oh, we need to change this story, we need to change that character. I'm not sure if you would like to work like this.
Yes and no. Yes, because it's always good to have somebody who wants to help you and give your honest words. Because after a while, you're just blind for your things. But yeah, you don't want to kill your darlings. You don't want to kill things you actually like, but somebody's killed. But yeah, this time it worked pretty good. And they also accepted, I asked for writing the dialogues in German, which is pretty uncommon in the industry. Normally, you're writing always in English, but I was saying the written story is that important for the game itself that I wanted to make it as authentic as possible. And of course, as a mother tongue, German is the most authentic I can provide.
Okay, nice. So it was translated afterwards. The first version was all German.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually an interesting information because, I mean, last year, Unusual Findings, a point-and-click adventure from Argentina, was released, and I always wondered why they never made a Spanish version, despite for Argentinians it would be a native in the language, it would be easier. So now that you say normally you start in English, that is probably why if the budget is low, you try to not invest more money in localization. So that explains it. It's interesting. Yeah, I mean the problem here is for some series, for some games, you expect it to be in German as well. I remember how the latest Monkey Island was really received a shitstorm almost, because at the beginning there was no German translation, no voice acting in German, and they actually had to release it afterwards to make the Germans happy. But I think this everything has to be in German. It's a typical cultural thing in Germany / Austria, because I never experienced that with other communities from other countries, to be honest.
I think it's just a quality standard we got to use. Yeah, like you have a lot of languages and countries which are happy, really happy when there's a game in their language. But yeah, we are Germans, so we don't accept nothing else than reading in our own language and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, just for example, when RoboCop Rogue City was released earlier this year, actually 2 months ago, there was, of course, a post on the forum on Steam from a German. Why is there another game without German synchronization? I will boycott the developer because of it. And of course, then the first reply was learn English, and it's so typical. I was like, yes, here we go again.
You can go to the reviews of our game, and a point which was mentioned a lot was that we are not dubbed the game. There are no voices, it's just reading. But we have 6 languages, and in German there are about 112,000 words of dialogue.
Wow.
If we would have make voice for it, it would have doubled the price of the production just for the languages.
Yeah.
We cannot provide that.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's something a lot of people don't understand. It's just a thing,
Yeah.
Interesting. It's interesting to hear about the challenges as well that you have as an indie studio, because from the player's perspective, a lot of people think like, oh, everybody makes millions with their games, so it should be easy,
I can say no, especially in Germany, no. Mostly the indie game studios are pretty troubling with releasing the first game and also the second game. It's really hard to get money for it. But that's the same. Like all the gamers in the world are used to have a quality standard, and when you don't provide that, they will mention it, even when maybe 20 or 30 years ago nobody thought about it doing this. At the same time, we can say, okay, we making voice or whatever and doubling the price. I think Fall of Porcupine is about 18 euros at the moment. You will never buy Fall of Porcupine for 40 euros because you have another expectation for a 40 euro game.
Yeah, that's another issue.
That's the thing with the Delix Gollum. Like they sell the game. I'm sure you got the news.
Oh yes.
They sell the game for 50 euros, but it wasn't a 50 euro game. People were like unrelated to the status of the game itself. They expected more AA, AAA quality in general. So they were disappointed because at the end it was more an indie game than a triple or double or 1A game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you mentioned the troubling financial situation. How hard is it to come up with a decent budget for such a project? Do you had any, did some money came from the publisher, from some investors, from some how to say in Germany it's called Förderung. Jörg, how's the word?
Oh,
The funding.
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 Yeah.
Funding.
What
yeah.
was the quest? How was the quest to get money?
Exactly that.
Okay.
You always have to invest money from your company or from yourself when
Yeah.
you don't. An example, when you working as a single developer, just one person,
Mhm.
you're working for free at the beginning because there is no money. The funding situation in Germany is pretty interesting, and they changed a lot in the last 2 years. At the moment, it's pretty risky and pretty static. When we started with the production, it was more relaxed and there were more money. So the pot was split in funding from the state, money from the publisher, and money we bring by ourselves.
Nice.
But of course, we are not a super small company. We are okayish in the kind of size. When you are smaller, when you are a studio with 3, 4, 5 persons who never released a game, who have no income, you release your game and you spend 300, 400, 500,000 euros. It's hard to survive until you have the point that the money's back. So a lot of studio dies in this period of time because they're not able to wait to the point where they have the invest back.
I see.
So you want to try to get into Game Pass, into PlayStation Plus or whatever, to have like a boost at the beginning and don't start by zero.
Okay, interesting.
Is that the reason why many publishers make deals like first year exclusive at Epic Store, the store that every gamer hates, and then after half a year or a year, suddenly they make a Steam version out of it?
That's the idea, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
I mean, it's interesting that you mention it because Ron Gilbert, when they made Thimbleweed Park, they had actually the same issue, and they made an exclusive publishing deal for half a year with Xbox.
Mhm.
So when we had the first interview at Gamescom about the game, we actually had it at the Xbox booth, which was interesting. And it was like, why would they do it exclusively for Xbox for the first half a year? Because you get financial boost at the beginning, you know?
Yeah.
Actually, the truth, yeah. And
Because
I mean,
you can say it's a kind of cooperation, you can say. There are a lot of examples for the Wii U, which was pretty not successful. And Nintendo made deals with game companies. Okay, at example, Rayman, like Rayman Origins was planned for Wii U exclusively and never released anywhere else. But with the deal that Ubisoft say, we make the deal exclusively when you sell enough of your consoles. As we all know, this never happened. So they were able to break the contract and release their game anywhere else. But it was planned just for Wii U because Nintendo gave money to the game. That's more or less the idea. And it's nothing bad about it. It's just how like every studio needs money to pay their people, especially to make it like as most comfortable as possible because you want to avoid a crunch. You want to pay your people in a good way. But it's not that easy because video games are freaking expensive and it takes a long time to do it. So yeah, you just try to find a way.
Cool. So it's also an adventure to make a game, not just the game itself is an adventure.
Completely.
And also you're troubling yourself now with the new concept, because that also means that people expect in the future from you to come up with the next game that is also different from the standard, you know? Isn't that kind of self-pressuring yourself?
Yes, but also in a good way because I want to make games. Why should I wait for it?
True. Or you could make contract work in the future, like like as Dennis mentioned at the beginning of the interview, making successors of franchises.
Yeah, that's actually like the way publishers earn money, holding IPs, sharing IPs. Today, we are not in this position. We are the guys and girls who are making the games. Yeah, but let's see how the future is going on. It's a hard time, like not only in Germany, also outside of, like inside Europe, a lot of people actually losing their jobs. Studios got closed. Everybody's a bit scared, but let's see. I'm still positive, and I think we will handle that.
I mean, with Ensemble Entertainment, you got a publisher that is kind of making both. I mean, they made franchise work like the last 2 Larry games they published, but also allowed new franchises like your game, for example. So it's kind of in between.
Yeah, of course.
Awesome. So you wouldn't generally say, I will never do that. I will only work on my own games. So if the chance comes, that's actually an interesting question. If there was a game that you would like to see a successor from the early 90s, as you mentioned, as a gamer, what franchise would it be? What franchise do you think there should be a successor for that has been neglected?
Oh, that's a hard question.
We like hard questions.
That's a really hard question.
I mean, especially the Super Nintendo.
I have a hot take. And it's hard because I have kind of a childish memory with it, and I will, of course, romanticize all of that. But there was a game out of Germany, I think in Mannheim. It was called Technomage for the PS1. I don't know if you know it.
Yeah, of course I know it.
I don't.
Loved it. And I loved it. And last year on Gamescom, I met one of the persons who were involved in the game. It was made by Sunflower Studios, who are closed today.
Yeah.
I was telling him the story that like this was one of my summer vacation games. I have a lot of summer memories with that game, with the crappy voice lines and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I will say I'm sad that it was not successful.
Cool. I think I have it here. I collect big box PC games. Let me shortly check. I think I have it. One moment.
Okay, interesting.
And he was actually saying, yeah, it was not successful because you bought it, and maybe you are one of 2 persons who actually bought it. So, and it was like a lot of effort. They created a whole new fantasy universe, and they had kind of lore work and stuff like that.
Can't find it. I have so many games here.
Yeah,
but Technomage, very nice that you mentioned it. That's a really nice mid-90s adventure, and
I'm sure more, but I would need to think about it.
Yeah.
Maybe some aftermath. I will send you some ideas.
Sure.
All right.
Do we have pictures of the booth, Dennis, from Polaris?
I don't know if I still have it, but I will probably check out my phone backup.
Or do you, Dennis, have it? Because I would like to make an overlay when we talk about it in the video version. That would be interesting.
I think I have it. I check it out. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Awesome.
Okay.
Also, Sebastian, if you have some footage we could lay over from the game, because Steam doesn't like stealing. So that would be nice, so people could actually see what we are talking about.
Of course.
Awesome.
I can share 2 more things about the post-release things we did, because I see your vinyls on your wall.
Yeah.
We made the soundtrack on vinyl, which
Oh, okay,
was
nice.
really nice. Having their own vinyl is a super nice feeling.
Oh, right. So the soundtrack of the game comes out as a vinyl.
Yeah, it's already there. We made it for this year's Gamescom.
Ah, on the label called Black Screen, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
I also saw their booth. They're really specialized in game soundtracks and amazing, cool. I didn't know that you made it on vinyl. So I'm a very huge vinyl collector and gonna check it out for sure.
We
Cool.
also got like last Thursday, there was the German Developer Award, and we were nominated for Best Sound and Best Story. We
Good.
actually won Best Story, which is pretty nice.
Wow.
Yeah,
Congrats.
congratulations.
Congrats. Yeah.
Two
Nice.
nice categories. And another thing, when I talk about like retro and like childish memories about video games, one thing which was more or less the nicest feeling for myself, because this is my first ever released game. And as a kid, I was used to ride my bike to the kiosks around my area and buying all these magazines to read the articles and whatever. And these magazines like wrote articles about my game, and even when like the importance or the presence of these magazines are not that much as in the time I was reading them, I was pretty proud, and it was a super nice feeling.
Yeah. Amazing to hear.
And
Yeah.
one
What
here,
should I say?
this is just a small indie magazine. I got this yesterday. It's called Patch. Just a small.
Nice. Nice.
Okay.
You know that?
Is it a new magazine from?
I think so. I think it's just like more or less. Oh, I have no background. I'm sorry, but yeah, it's just a small article.
Yeah, there we go. Nice.
Yeah, you have also the Game Star and stuff like that. It's just a cool feeling.
Amazing. Yeah, congratulations again on such a good work. It's always nice to hear people coming up with something unique and fresh and something that just feels right and very good.
The pressure's
Thanks.
on for the next title.
It's okay.
Yeah. Thank you again for being here and telling us the story. Thank you. Amazing.
Where can people find your stuff? We should talk about that.
You can find it on Steam, on GOG, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Switch, Xbox One, Xbox Series. So everything except mobile is possible. Sometimes when you have like Steam sales, like we are in this cozy game category, if you like to play games with more or less chilled and relaxed and cozy feeling, but with story could be hard on a point. Maybe you want to cry, maybe you want to laugh. So this is a game for you. So feel free to try. There's a free prologue and more story behind in the full game.
Beautiful.
Awesome.
Cool.
Awesome. Yeah.
Okay, Sebastian. Wish you very good luck on your next projects, and of course also with Fall of Porcupine. I think the game is hot and will be always hot. And very cool. All right.
Very much.
Awesome. Have a nice evening.
You too. Bye.
Right. Bye-bye.